Today on CityCast Denver. It's time to start writing a new chapter for Denver's best-known bookstore.
I just grew up going there. It was just a bookstore that you got books at. And it hasn't been until coming back that I really realized the emotional impact or the way that the bookstores have affected people.
The Tattered cover is at a turning point. The historic Lodo location is no more, and the new flagship location at McGregor Square isn't quite here yet. So what can we expect from this new era? Today is Tuesday, May 25th, 2021. I'm Bree Davies, and this is CityCast Denver. Let's take a look at the news. Today promises a high in the upper 70s with minimal cloud cover and plenty of sun. Denver is seeking feedback from the community on how to spend its federal stimulus money over the next decade. Interested in telling the city where the money should go in your community? Visit risetogetherdenver.org to share your thoughts. And speaking of finances, the state of Colorado is considering offering a $1 million prize for getting vaccinated. Governor Polis hinted at a big money lottery prize via Twitter, following in the footsteps of states like New York and Ohio that have used this financial incentive method to push a public health initiative. My question is, where would this $1 million come from exactly? Out of the governor's own wallet, or... When I was a kid, a visit to the Tattered cover in Cherry Creek was always a treat. Even when I was really young, I loved hanging out and reading magazines sprawled out on their green carpet. Oh, and the fourth story, the restaurant on the top floor, so good. Such great views. As I got older, my friends and I would go to the bookstore just to hang out. It was one of those places where everyone could find something. The Tattered cover of 2021 is very different from the Tattered cover of my memories. For one, the company was sold last year. And then they shut down the iconic old location across from Union Station in favor of a new flagship store downtown. It's set to open this summer in that expensive new development across from Coors Field. But even with all the changes, something about it still feels right to me. I love your background too. It just says Tattered cover, but I feel like there's maybe book releases on it.
It's our coffee board. So it has all of the beverages that we offer. It was one of the few privileges of being an owner where I was like, oh, what are we going to do with this coffee board? And people were like, I don't know. And I was like, we can drop it off at my home.
Kwame Spearman is one of the new owners of the Tattered cover. And as I learned in our conversation you're about to hear, it's taken Kwame and his partners a lot of hard work to maintain that Tattered cover feeling, while also trying to run a business around something as old-fashioned as selling books. How are things going at Tattered cover? What's going on?
I think that things are actually going great. You know, when we were considering taking over the business in 2020, we did projections, and a lot of those projections were around COVID. And I think one of the things, at least I'm incredibly happy, surprised, fortunate about is our vaccine distribution in this country. And it's led me to believe that, we're going to be relatively open this summer. And that was something we didn't plan for. I think the other thing that's going super well is that, to be honest, the community has been incredibly supportive of what we've been trying to do. And I didn't really realize sort of the brand, the Tattered cover brand, and what that equity was. I always equate it to, growing up here with the mountains. If every day, you're going east to west, I was going to Smiley Middle School and East High School, and you're driving, you see the mountains, they're incredibly beautiful, but you don't know. Then you leave for, a decade or two, and, I've moved back, and exactly, you'll just look at them from every angle in the city, and you're like, this is absolutely stunning. And it's the same thing with the Tattered cover brand, where, I just grew up going there. It was just a bookstore that you got books at. And it hasn't been until coming back that I really realized the emotional impact or the way that the bookstores have affected people. And so we've been able to, and I'm not saying we're fully there yet, but we've really been able to tap into that.
And earlier this year, you announced a partnership with Denver's Human Bookstore, which was started by Clara Villarosa, who wanted to amplify authors of color. And how's that been going for you guys?
What we wanted to do is really become a center of excellence for Black titles, Black authors, Black stories. And so each month we have essentially a theme. So we're going to be entering into June, and so we're talking really about the intersectionality of LGBTQ and Black. So looking at authors, James Baldwin, et cetera, and sort of what that identity meant, recommending works that they've put together and having conversations talking about it, right? And I think that's where we're hoping, Human really evolves into.
And speaking of opening up, I think there's some big. You're working on a new location, right, for Tattered Cover. Can you talk about McGregor Square? What's going on there?
Oh man, McGregor Square is going to be absolutely amazing. I think, when Coors Field opened in 1995, I remember going down there as a boy, and you could just tell that it was going to provide an energy and an oxygen to lower downtown. I think McGregor Square is going to do something similar to downtown, and I think it's coming at a perfect time where, downtown is dramatically evolving because of the use of office. And so there very much needs to be sort of a new heartbeat, a new type of energy. We were supposed to open on April 1st. That hasn't happened yet. And so that's fine. I don't think we'll be lamenting it in a year. So the McGregor Square location, it's going to be huge. It's 10,000 square feet. For those who remember the Tattered Cover location in North Cherry Creek, so we've got this incredibly cool staircase, which, it's so large. I was like, I don't know anything about architecture. I was like, this is arguably too large, but it embodies the staircase that was in the prior location with the ability. What we did with our bookshelves is we kept them intentionally low. So when you're coming down the staircase, you can actually get a 360 view of the store, similar to what you could do at Cherry Creek. It's a really cool location. But I also, one of the things that we're trying to do at Tattered Cover, and it's not to be preachy, it's not to be egocentric, but we are trying to reimagine the modern day bookstore experience, because I'm concerned, if you look what's going on with delivery and Amazon, what happens to bookstores when we open back up, right? And what I think McGregor offers is it's such an experiential store where you get the look, the feels. We've got giant windows, and you couple that with the Tattered Cover magic of just, a book-selling staff that loves curation. And I think it's going to be really special. And we hope it's going to be a model that other bookstores, ourselves included, look to for future growth and development.
That's amazing. And you have a book recommendation for us, right?
I something that I've actually gotten back on sort of my shelves, because we've got the All-Star game coming to Colorado. Only the Ball Was White. And it's a story of the Negro Leagues. And one of the significant elements of that is this past year, Major League Baseball incorporated the Negro League records into Major League Baseball's records. And so there's more sort of awareness towards this league. I mean, Jackie Robinson started in the Negro League, right? And so this book, it's by Robert Patterson. He basically gives a detailed history of this league. And what I love about the narrative is that so few people are aware that there was another Major League Baseball with the competitive rivalries, the baseball stadiums, and the talent that was acting at the same time. Some of our baseball greats were doing their own thing.
And it's just amazing, too, to even know that the records themselves were segregated.
Right?
Like, I had no idea. I would have never thought about that, but how important and crucial it is to bring the records of these players into this larger picture of baseball's history.
I think one of the things that, and this goes back to the Human point, is that there are narratives of the Black experience that I think have often been overlooked. And it's not to say that slavery and civil rights and those stories shouldn't be told. But so my thing is like, let's talk about some of the riches of history, right? And let's show that point of view, because despite segregation and despite our country's history, there are so many fascinating things that the African American community has been doing.
Well, Kwame, thank you so much.
This has been fantastic.
Kwame Spearman is one of the new owners of the Tattered cover, and he just might be back with more book recommendations for CityCast Denver listeners soon. So stay tuned and tell your friends. Hey, Denver. So I have some exciting news. I'm having a baby, like, soon. But this means I'll be away from the show for a while. But the cool part is nothing is changing about what we do here at CityCast. You'll just get the opportunity to hear from more voices on our team. Because seriously, there's this group of fantastic people who work on this show every day to make it what it is. So before I headed out, I wanted to introduce you to my colleagues so they can tell you a little bit more about who they are and what they like.
Hey Denver, I'm Exandra McMahon and I'm a producer on CityCast, and I really am passionate about arts coverage, and so you're probably going to be hearing a little bit more from me about arts, theater, music, all of that good stuff, and also LGBTQ stuff, because that's also really important to me. So yeah.
Hi, my name's Peyton. I write the daily morning newsletter here at CityCast Denver, and I hope to come on and talk with you guys about all things food in Denver.
And my name's Paul Caroli. I'm a producer on the show. You all have heard my voice a little bit before. I've been doing podcast stuff in Denver for a long time now, and I didn't tell you all I was going to tell this story, but Bree, I have to say, this feels like a special moment for me, because the very first interview recording that I did for Changing Denver, the podcast I used to make here, was with you. I wanted to talk to you and your friend Tamika about this blog you were doing, and we arranged to meet in a coffee shop. I sat down, I set up my equipment, I pulled out the mics, I plugged everything in, and then I leaned over the table to hold the mic up to you and get ready to start talking. And you are still the only person in my whole career doing this that has taken the mic from my hand and held it yourself.
So, I don't even remember doing that. My bad.
No, I was very intimidated at the time. But I like that we're doing this now, because it kind of feels like I'm taking it back, at least for a little bit.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell a friend about us, rate the show wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Later! I'm sorry. I hope I'm not having my baby right now. Not to freak you guys out. I'm just like, ooh.